You're never too young to start learning about money, but teaching money lessons to kids isn't easy. Today on Your Money, what is the best age to start a checking account? Plus, a nationwide program teaching elementary kids about the stock market, and summer camps that prepare high schoolers for life as an adult. It's all coming up right here on Your Money. Welcome to Your Money. I'm your host, Gordon Severson, here to help you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. And today we're talking about kids and money. The world of finance is fast-moving and ever-changing. It can be difficult for adults to understand how everything works, let alone kids. That's why we're giving tips and advice on how to teach your kids and grandkids about money. Let's kick things off with the basics. Saving money. It's the first lesson kids should learn, how to save money and how to spend it. But what is a good age to set up a savings account or a debit card for your kid? Chris Radcliffe looked into it, and here's what he found out.
So the first question is, at what age should your child learn the value of a dollar?
I've been under the impression for a long time now, thanks to my parents, grandparents, and then what we're doing with our kids, the earlier the better. Now, you know your child better than anybody else in the world does. So you understand when they're able to start grasping those concepts.
And the only way to grasp those concepts are to put them into action. But Rojo says that should all be a part of the conversation.
We like to give them money. Say, hey, here's $10, $15. Now here you go. And then we sit down and have a conversation with them. Say, hey, what are you going to do with it? You've got a savings category. You're saving up for the next video game or whatever. Or do you want to go and hang out with your friends this weekend and spend some of that money? And so having those conversations earlier and often, they start to understand, hey, this money deal isn't just to be spent. There's different things I can do with it.
So I asked, which is better for the kids, a checking or a savings account?
We took the route of doing a checking and a savings. And if you want to do that, that's great. You don't have to do that. Either or, I think there's the simplicity of it is there for either or. Savings account, of course, is a little harder to spend from. And so if the goal is just straight saving, of course, go that route. But if you want to teach them, money coming in and you're spending this amount, the checking account is the way to go.
And as far as the debit card, Rojo says that's not something they keep until they start driving.
Right. So now one thing I do is don't let them have that debit card. That's when we keep the debit card, of course, and that's pretty common sense there. But a lot of parents may be like, okay, here's your debit card. And next thing you know, the account's negative and you've got a whole nother problem, right?
Once your child understands that the money is fleeting, most of the time they will suddenly give greater weight to the needs versus the wants.
What makes it sting is when they want to go out to eat, knowing that mommy and daddy usually pays, is when you say, well, hey, do you have the money for it? And it was like, yes, well, you're going to pay for your food. So it starts to sting a little bit. For us, our 14-year-old is starting to understand. He'll ask, he'll be like, hey, Dad, how much money do I have in my account before he goes and buys anything? And if he's not comfortable with the level he's at, he just won't buy it.
According to Money Wallet, financial experts say most kids can understand money concepts by age 9. So that's a good age to open that first savings account. Checking accounts and debit cards require more responsibility and a better understanding of how money works. Money Wallet recommends waiting until the child is 15 or so to open an account like this. At this age, they'll have more life experience and be more mature and ready to make good money decisions. Now, teaching kids about money earlier won't just help them with their financial knowledge. As Lewis Turner explains, it could set them up for a more comfortable life as they grow into adults.
Birthday card from Granny, savings bond from Uncle, maybe an allowance, even the tooth fairy. Yeah, kids have some money coming in. But what should they be doing with it, and what is the best way to save for kids?
But it's really nothing without time. And when have you ever had more time than when you were a kid?
Kendall
right?
Can owns Privileged Planning Incorporated, a financial firm that focuses on wealth management.
It's a snowball effect. It involves momentum.
Well, sure, they probably want to buy the latest doodad, but that money could actually be making bacon in a savings account as opposed to gathering dust inside some pig, all through a process called compound interest.
That is the art of making money on your money. It's literally the essence of that saying, money makes money.
And the sooner you start, no matter the age, the better it will be.
So my favorite account, I really have two. that I'm recommending, and the first is an UTMA.
And UTMA stands for Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. You can deposit for your child, the money earns interest, is tax advantaged, and the minor takes over at adulthood. She also says a 529 account. It's good to save for college education, but now leftover money from after college can be transferred to a retirement account for your child when they graduate. That's a major change this year. Or
There is nothing wrong with just a high yield savings account. We're in the first time in a decade where you can make money on nothing without taking any risk in a CD or in a high yield savings account. That's a great place to start.
Here's a great opportunity to live by example. Both you and your kids can deposit some money into a high-yield savings account together every month, building wealth and stronger futures together. Still to come on Your Money, we hear from a nonprofit and a teacher using an online game to teach elementary kids about the stock market. It's such a cool idea. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Coming up right here after the break. For a lot of us adults, talking about money and understanding money is very intimidating. So the idea of trying to explain all of this to our kids and teenagers, well, that's just straight up overwhelming for a lot of folks. But to help us get some great advice on how to talk to teenagers and young kids about money, I've got two great experts here on the show here. Stephanie Musgrove, who works with Best Prep here in Minnesota, works with kids, talks about money. And we've got Jolene Tamahiro, who is a teacher and works with elementary students. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
And both of you are use a program that I think is really interesting, really fascinating, the stock market game, to try to teach kids about the stock market and investing. Tell me a little bit about this program.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually a national program. It's run by the SIFMA Foundation, and it's an investing simulation, an online investing simulation. So students in grades 4 through 12 can participate. It's typically through a school, but parents and children or nonprofit groups, community groups can play. Students are working in teams to manage an investment portfolio of $100,000. So it's a lot of money. It's very motivating. It is a competition. So students are actually competing against other teams in Minnesota to have the highest ranked portfolio. And what's really cool about the stock market game that I really love is that it's real time. It's real stocks, just like if you and I were to go talk to our financial advisor or check online Yahoo Finance. All of those same numbers and all that same data and that experience is what the students experience. So it's not real money, but it's a real actual experience. And so they're able to try things that they might not be able to with their own money in this great, really safe, fun space.
That's such a cool idea. And you work with kids as young as 4th and 5th graders. I think that's super fascinating.
Yes, they absolutely love this game. We start off by teaching the power of investing, whether it's in a savings account, but then we move on to the power of investing in the stock market and the returns that they can get with the stock market. The kids are so enthusiastic about this game. They can come in every morning and they'll check their portfolios and see how they're doing. So it's a really motivating factor for them to learn about stocks, learn about analyzing stocks, and just learning in general future skills.
And I'm sure it starts out with a lot of companies that they know, the clothing companies they wear, video game companies, things like that.
Yes, we got Nike, we got Apple, we got Microsoft are pretty common, but then they'll start doing some more research of what are the best stocks to buy? And I had some teams buy some AI stocks recently this spring that did really well. And it was just, once they start getting into the game, they start wanting to really see some bigger returns. So they'll start really looking at and doing a lot of research on what are some good stocks out there, and then they'll start purchasing those. So they're really diversifying their portfolios.
And I'm sure a game like this, it inspires so many great lessons and conversations, because if there's one team that had a really good investment, then it's like, okay, why did that go up? Why did we see that growth? And I'm sure, or if they lose a lot of money,
exactly,
that's a learning opportunity too.
Right. So, I mean, one of my teams, had Boeing. So, that was a lesson this spring in what happens with companies and when things don't go so well and their stock prices takes a hit on that. So
That there's so many factors that are out of your control. I mean, there's
Right.
governmental rules change, or things that are going on with other countries, wars. There's everything
Right.
that can change, and so it's great for them to see how those things can
Right.
affect the stock market.
yeah, because you're putting current events right into what they're learning as well.
Absolutely. Current events have such a big impact on how the stock market performs. And that's why, you can do research, you can look at the data, but no one could have really predicted, for example, what happened with GameStop, right? You can't necessarily predict a natural disaster that's going to cause an insurance company to make a lot of money because they're out helping their clients. Students have access to so much technology now and social media. They're watching KARE 11 with their parents, and they're going to see those news stories and say, oh, this company was in the news. I wonder if that has a positive or negative impact on their stock performance, and kind of digging into that a little more. And it really helps teach them that they are active consumers in the economy. Even if they're just clicking on ads on social media, or if they're going to the movie theater, you are actively participating in the economy. And the more that we can normalize that with young people, the more, for lack of better terms, invested they will be in their own financial well-being, in learning, in setting their own financial goals. So that's one of the really cool aspects of the program, and just teaching young people about money at an early age.
And before we were talking about, how important the failures are. For the kids to have that lesson that, it's fake money, for them to not go into the real world and think, I'm always going to be making money, everything's sunshine and rainbows. To see them, lose everything or lose 50% is such a great lesson for them to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a group of students not lose money on an investment. And that's a great lesson to teach too, because in a safe environment like the stock market game, you can be a little riskier, and you can learn what your risk tolerance is, and you can really practice, how do I manage my emotions? A lot of investment experts talk about, don't let your emotions get in the way of your investment or financial decisions. And so when you've earned 10,000 and then you come in the next week and you've lost that 10,000 or more, that's a really good time to stop and say, okay, students, how did that feel? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, okay, I wanted to take that risk and that's what it felt like. And maybe others are like, ooh, that didn't feel so good. So I need to look at some different investments in the future. And again, it's a safe space. So it's not real money that they're losing. And we always ask them too what they would do with the money if it were real, when they win a lot of money. So that's also a motivating factor.
I'm sure it's wildly entertaining and educational for you as a
Yes,
teacher
definitely.
to see these students do all this.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean, they're just so excited about it, and it's just so motivating for them to be playing this game, to be researching. They're just learning so many different lifelong skills that hopefully they will use. I'm just really thankful that Best Prep is able to offer this, and it's free for all teachers to take part in. So it's a great program, and I've been doing it for over 20 years.
Wow.
So it's fabulous.
For parents out there who might be seeing this and maybe don't have this available in their area, what advice would you have for them to try to integrate some of these, lessons or experiences with their own kids, maybe at home or, with a family friend or something?
Sure,
like that?
absolutely. I think the three main things when I talk about money with young people, or adults even, understand your options, understand your values, and pay yourself first. So what are your options? You can talk with your kids about, okay, we want to save money, or we want to go on a trip. We need to pay for that. What are the different options we have to pay for this? We can save for it, we can use a credit card. Understanding your values, I think this is probably the most important for me. Talk to your kids about what's important to you as a person, to them as a person, to you as a family, because what you care about is going to impact how you spend your money, how you save your money, how you earn your money. And your way and Jolene's way and my way, we might have different values. That doesn't mean we're using our money wrong. It just means we're using it differently because we care about different things. And then really paying yourself first, that's just saving. Saving is paying your future self. So having a discussion with students about, and young people, what do you want to buy? What's interesting to you? I think a great starting point too is if you're at the store, if you're out and about and you're child asks for something, have a conversation about, well, this actually costs money. Let's talk about how you might be able to buy that for yourself. Here's how I'm able to buy X, Y, and Z. How can we get you into that too? So just building them into the general family conversations about money and normalizing it so that they don't feel intimidated when they get to a point where they need to start earning their own money or setting financial goals.
And I'm sure it's all about how old they are and how they can understand it. And you experience that with, 4th and 5th graders. You would probably treat them a little differently than a high school senior.
Yeah, definitely. But they're still learning young about money and the importance of saving, and whether they save in a savings account or start investing, having their parents invest for them.
Yeah, I think that's such a great thing for our viewers to hear is that 4th and 5th graders are learning this, because like some people might think like, oh, I'll wait till high school. That's when kids they maybe might get their first job, things like that. That's when we'll have the conversation about money. But I think it's a great idea to start early, maybe even as young as 5 and 6, age appropriate. Just showing what money looks like and talking about it, and like layer it as they get older. Right? Probably a good idea.
Definitely.
The more drops in the bucket you can put, it's a drop at a time, but eventually you're going to fill up that bucket. So the more that you're introducing them and exposing them and giving them access to all of these different financial experiences and learning and education and opportunities, it's going to stick with them. And every young person, something's going to stick with them differently. But Jolene and I have talked, and a lot of the teachers that I work with, they send me a note and are like, hey, a bunch of my students just went and opened savings accounts. Or especially at the high school level, I have some students that just went and talked to Charles Schwab and they opened an account and they're on their way. And so it's really, there's research that shows that financial education has a positive influence on future financial behavior, well-being, financial confidence, but we see those in the moment, that instant gratification of, okay, yeah, I want to go and open a savings account, and that's something that I can do.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sure a lot of people, with the stock market game and the $100,000 and how kids would get into it would be maybe concerned that is this setting kids up for speculative investing and investing money they don't have. But I'm sure seeing those lessons and experiencing the losses is a benefit, because they're going to maybe have that mentality no matter what. So if they have those losses and those experiences ahead of time, that when they do have the real money, they have that frame of reference maybe.
Yes. Absolutely. We get that question often, and really, if anything, if they are going to have some of that riskier financial behavior, at least it's in a safe setting. And as I mentioned before, they really start to get to know their financial personality and what works well for them. And we always talk about, and again, you talk about putting in frame of reference for young people. In the stock market game, they're playing for the school year, they're playing for a few months. A few months is nothing in the scope of an investing timeline. But for young people, 3 months is a long time. So when you're like, okay, we're starting in January and we're not going to find out the results until April, oh my gosh, that's so long, Ms. Tomohiro, we can't wait. So it gets them excited about checking in on things, checking on their portfolio. So that's another great.
And sticking with something for a couple of months.
Exactly. Yes. We know that we can't always have instant gratification. There is benefit in long-term investment in behaviors and habits, whether that's financial or not. So it gives them, again, that motivation to stick with something long-term.
Right, and I would post my rankings every day outside my door, and I had all the kids coming in the morning, like looking where they're at, and if they went up 10 places, they were super excited and they were like ready to see what made money or what didn't make money, and deciding whether they wanted to keep those stocks or sell them or buy different ones. So it's very motivating.
And young people gravitate toward that.
Yeah.
When you think about learning experiences in school or just at home, the experiences that you're curious about or that interest you, like posting the rankings, students love seeing that. That's what'll stick with them. I just read an essay actually from one of our stock market game students here in Minnesota, and they said, if I didn't learn anything at all this year, I definitely learned something from the stock market game because I know it's something I can use in real life, and it was fun. And that just makes me so happy. We can make finances. They don't have to be overwhelming and daunting. They can be fun, right? Like you can do.
That's what we try to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, and the point again too is, you know, like with so many like apps that are making investing so much easier, and you can be putting money to work so quickly and you can lose it so quickly. And I'm sure a lot of, you know, for teenagers, there's that competitive drive to make money and all of that. But I think if they have these experiences, maybe that will cause them to take a second to think about those things before they do everything. You know, the GameStop, those kinds of things that can get very speculative, and you can go crazy and make a lot of money, or you can lose everything. That's, I think, the future of investing. It's going to get more and more of that. So the more lessons we have for these kids, that'll prepare them for that, right?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
And even if they do, you know, when you're young, you have time. Like this is something we tell our young people all the time. They have something we don't have. That's time, just because they're younger. And if you look at, you know, what it takes to become a millionaire, let's say, that can happen for a lot of people. You don't have to be in the upper echelon or be a CEO to be really financially successful. You get to define your own success, but if you start early, it's totally doable. And I think that's another one of the things I love about this program, and Jolene is really great at this with her students, is showing that it's possible. Because I think for young people, you know, a $5 bill, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to me. I'll take a $5 bill. But then you introduce them to $100,000, they don't even necessarily know how to conceptualize that. But then over time they see, oh my gosh, not only can I manage $100,000, I can earn money. And then they get that confidence to bring it back to their own financial goals. Okay, I'm going to save a certain amount of money, or I'm going to look at jobs that will allow me to invest, have a 401k plan. So that's a really wonderful thing to see too.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for coming to the studio here and talking about money and kids.
Okay,
Thanks for having us.
Coming up, a summer camp for high schoolers that isn't about sports. It's all about careers and preparing for college. A crash course in different jobs so students can find a career they like and not waste thousands of dollars on classes they don't need while trying to find the right major. That story and more coming up right here on Your Money. Welcome back to Your Money. Right now, countless kids are enjoying summer camps. And at one Minnesota college, there's a unique camp giving high school seniors a preview of the real world. I stopped by to see what it's all about.
Here's my first question for you, all right?
When you're a teenager, the world of business seems so far away.
What career paths sounded most appealing to you?
That's why Bethel University started their Business Academy.
Yeah.
To give high school seniors a preview of life after graduation.
You're graduating high school, okay, what are you going to do for the rest of your life?
Sydney Roberts knows the struggle all too well.
I was in your shoes 2 years ago.
She's now a student at Bethel and a counselor in the academy, but she too was once a confused high school senior.
Early in high school, I wanted to be a dermatologist, and I shadowed for 3 hours, and I decided, nope, not what I'm going to do.
That's why she loves this program, giving teens an inside look at different jobs.
Meet real business, like people that do it on a daily basis.
To learn about jobs they've never considered.
An entrepreneur, and I thought that was really cool, starting her own business.
To ask questions and get real answers from real professionals.
Is there a difference between a company asking for insurance or like a regular person like us asking for insurance?
I would say business, there's just a lot more to know.
At the end of the 3-day camp, students have a wealth of knowledge they can take with them into senior year.
It really, really helped me. Like, I was like, wow, this opens everything up.
To help them make the tough decisions about life after high school.
You're not stuck in one place. You can have multiple careers. It doesn't have to be one path.
What a great idea, right? I was so impressed by this idea that I wanted to ask the director of this program a few questions about what parents and grandparents can do to help their kids transition to adulthood. Here's what she had to say. With teenagers, you know, they're so used to being told where to go, what classes to take, and how to study. But when they go out into the real world, they have to make a lot of those choices themselves about where to go to college, what job to get. And I can see that being confusing for a lot of kids. They don't know what choices to make.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And, you know, I think deciding not only where to go to college, but what to study is a huge decision. Some students are lucky enough to know exactly what they want to do, but others, struggle with that.
Do you think that, we all need to do better as adults to prepare these kids for that big transition to adulthood?
I think that is a job, one of the jobs of parents is to expose them to as many opportunities as possible. Camps are one thing, and we encourage students to have conversations, informational interviews, we call them. We encourage students, even at this age, to have those conversations with people in the business world, because I believe that you can't be what you can't see. Right? And so the more you can get out and have conversations with people, you see careers, you experience that, it really helps you form those opinions about what, is good for you.
Do you think a lot of students, go into a major, even go into a profession, and maybe don't really know what the lifestyle or what the work is like until they get into that job and then realize this isn't for me?
Absolutely, and that's why we encourage them to do that to do that homework earlier rather than later when it might be a more costly sort of shift that they have to make. But now is a perfect time for kids to start exploring.
Like, you may love the class, or you may love the profession in the classroom level, but out in the real world, it may be very different.
You may have a parent who maybe is a lawyer, and you think as a child, a young child, oh, that's what I want to be. I want to be like my dad. But you have no idea what it takes on a daily basis. So I think that's where these conversations that the students have with people in these fields really helps shine a light. And even like shadowing, we encourage students to shadow people in their jobs, so it can shine the light on what is it that you actually do every single day. And the sooner they do that, the better.
So you don't need to send your kids to a special camp to teach them about jobs. All you need is to start a conversation. Find out what they're interested in, and find a mentor in your community who can show them what that job is all about. I was lucky enough to have several mentors growing up. It took me a while before I settled on a career in television. At first, I wanted to be a video game tester, then a movie director. At one point, I wanted to be a rock star. It's all about trying out different ideas to find something that fits your personality and your lifestyle, the lifestyle you want to live as you grow up. That's all we have for this Kids and Money episode here on Your Money. Remember, you're never too young to start learning about money, so get those kids started early. I'm Gordon Severson, helping you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. I'll see you next time.